Alrighty, welcome to episode 253 of Tokwa's Ask Us Anything. As usual, it's been a pretty busy news week. Elon Musk has launched a SpaceX XAI Tesla joint venture Terafab project, which aspirationally aims to eventually produce 1 terawatt of AI compute chips per annum. While no plans were disclosed about the Terafab itself, Musk did announce the intention of building a pathfinding advanced technology fab in Austin, Texas, with the purpose of rapidly iterating chip and fab design technologies implementing experimental technologies. And that was this week's news. Indeed it was, and once again, welcome to the program. As is customary, if there is anyone who is new and is comfortable in doing so, please unmute and say hello. Or perhaps a little bit later on. Alrighty, so Terafab Day has come and gone. I think a lot of us looked forward to it, and it was certainly very interesting. A couple of things to note if you haven't looked on X, although I'm sure most of us have. For at least the first day and a half, many people saw this image and thought that this was the Terafab and that it would be producing 1 terawatt of equivalent CPUs or basically microcontrollers that can consume 1 terawatt of compute per annum. This is actually the Advanced Technology Fab, and it is nothing to do with the Terafab. And Elon Musk was sort of alluding to it in the presentation where he said that this is where they would be rapidly iterating. There will be a facility, fabrication facility in that building, but there's also a reticle design lab as well, or manufacturing lab, which is actually doing the masks for the extreme ultraviolet machines to produce the chips. And they would be rapidly iterating designs to in a very tight iteration, which has never been done anywhere else in the world, which would be something like at about 10 times the rate that is normally happening, so that then designs could be iterated. And he said that there's a lot of innovative physics that are being proposed that he was quite positive about and that he thinks will work in principle. And that's, of course, classic Elon Musk. So, but yeah, for anyone who may have missed, I think a day and a half later, in reply to Joe Techmeyer, who famously does a lot of drone footage around Giga Texas, Elon Musk did basically clarify that no, this is just the Pathfinder Advanced Technology Fab, and that the actual Terafab would require tens of thousands of acres of land, and they're actually looking at land now to acquire, and that it would require 10 gigawatts of energy just to run it. Something else is that I highly recommend anyone who's interested in integrated circuits or cutting edge fabrication of chips. Look at Veritasium's video of about 2 months ago. It's about 6 videos ago, and it's about ASML's extreme ultraviolet photolithography machine, which costs about $400 million. And they are currently building about 50 of them per year. They're hoping to scale up to about 80 per year production rate. They contain things like a Carl Zeiss reflecting lens or a mirror that if you scale that mirror up to the size of the Earth, the roughness of that mirror is no greater than the thickness of a playing card, scaled to the mirror being the size of the Earth. So I think it's the flattest thing that's ever been made, and they only do about one a week. Um, Incidentally, according to Grok, a terawatt of compute requires about 3,000 of these EUV machines. which are currently being made at the rate of between 50 and 100 per annum. So this is clearly a very long-term project. This is not something that's going to be solved and finished and built. Oh, and by the way, 3,000 at $400 million is about $1 trillion just in the photolithography equipment. And you've got everything else that needs to be done as well. So this is a very long-term project. This is not Robotaxi and this is not Optimus. This is something that's going to last a lot longer than that. So anyway, is there anyone else that's got any opening questions or comments?
I've got a comment. Wow.
Yeah, what was he smoking? And I want some.
That's very good.
Actually, no, Pete. I think something that's really good, and it's actually at the end. This is Casper. I forget Casper's surname, but there's a little commentary he does at the end of the ASML video, which I think actually sums up what Elon Musk is intending or has done in the past and is intending to do in the future really well. So if you just bear with me, I'll just set this up. Oh, come on.
Now, I have spent several months working on this video and thinking about it, and it still feels absolutely impossible. And the more I think about it, the more I think, those people 40 years ago that said it was impossible, they had a point. It's completely unreasonable to think that you could make this artificial sun in a lab, that you could make these mirrors that are this smooth, and that you could get the required overlay accuracy. The reasonable thing is to think that none of that is possible and to point out all the problems with each of them. Which reminds me of this quote: "The reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable one persists in trying to adapt the world to himself. Therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable man." Imagine if Andy and Kinoshita and all the others had been reasonable. We would have none of this. In fact, imagine what the world would be like if everyone on it was reasonable. It would probably be extremely boring. Probably most of the technology, most of the things you enjoy on a daily basis wouldn't be here. In fact, you probably wouldn't be watching this video because just about all the technology we have nowadays would seem completely unreasonable even just 200 years ago. And so I really think that to a large extent we owe our lives to those unreasonable people. And maybe, at least to me, it's a reminder that it's good to be a little unreasonable, at least in some of the big parts of life.
I think that really sums up basically everything that Elon Musk has ever done. He is an unreasonable man. He insists on questioning everything. And I think Jensen Huang actually said something to that effect. He questions everything. He questions the reason for every single task or every element, everything, every component, every structure, every procedure, and says, "Well, is this needed?" And he is unreasonable. And I think exactly like Casper said, you need unreasonable people to get amazing things done. And look, this terafab will be late. It might not be as big as planned, but Elon Musk does pride himself on making the impossible merely late. And one thing Jeff Lutz has said many times is this actually gets Tesla leverage with TSMC and Samsung and probably even Intel as well today. Because what did he say? And he said this actually at the presentation. I've told these chip makers, build as big a plant as you like and as many of them as you like, and we will buy all your chips, all of them. And he then lamented that, the likes of TSMC and Samsung just aren't comfortable in expanding at the rate that Tesla wants and SpaceX wants. But at least they won't consider him as a competition. He's really just a super customer who will buy everything anyway, even if he makes it, even when he makes a terafab, he'll still buy all the other customer chips, just as he is still buying as many batteries from other suppliers as he can get them to build as quickly as possible. So yeah, it's certainly interesting times ahead.
Yeah, no, totally concur with that. It's changed the course of human history, sort of stuff. Kicking
Yeah,
and screaming, sort of stuff. It's amazing. Like, I know it's the end of the world because my brother and his wife finally capitulated. They're buying the Model Y.
Whizzing
So
electrons from transistor to transistor.
sorry, I didn't mean to
that's
do
all right.
that.
And
So
the
they
smaller you
do
can
it
make those
again.
transistors, the less the
That's all right.
Be
Yeah.
quiet,
So
Derek.
Friday
Sorry
they
about
pick
that.
up their car. So they
Fantastic.
they bought one of the ones on the inventory, sort of stuff. Yeah.
Oh,
So
speaking of which, I didn't look today, so it might be different. But as of yesterday, there were 0 Model Ys in inventory in Australia,
wow,
and there were only 2
Zero new
model.
ones.
new
Zero
ones.
new
Yeah,
ones, Harold.
yeah, yeah,
That's correct
yeah.
in inventory. The other thing is certified used cars in their used inventory.
Yeah.
So, and in fact,
But there weren't too
the
many of
only
them either.
oh no, I didn't bother looking because I mean, there's always a steady supply, but that's right.
Yeah.
And the only Teslas that were available in inventory was a brand new Model 3 Performance and a demo Model 3, which had done about 8,000 Ks, and that was available in either Victoria or Tasmania. So obviously Tasmania and Victoria share stock, or should I say, the stock originates from Melbourne, and that's it in all of Australia. So that's just a sign of the enthusiasm with which people are buying
Yep.
EVs.
I heard rumors that some of the legacy automaker dealerships are trying to buy Teslas from over east and bring them to Perth to sell second-hand ones because you know nothing's selling at the moment except EVs. So, and they don't have any EVs to sell. So trying to get some from the eastern states.
Yeah, maybe they're doing that. I mean, the fact is, dealerships, some of them for second-hand cars in particular, make a fair bit of money out of flogging the finance deals
Exactly.
for which they get, I guess it's rude to say kickbacks, but they're basically kickbacks. They get commission
Yep.
on the finance, so that often sweetens it for them.
And
So,
the rust proofing and the mats and
indeed,
I
indeed.
know. Yeah.
Um,
Sorry. Yeah. Go.
in fact, Bjorn Nyland showed in one of his videos his old
Millennium Falcon.
Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
And the wipers had actually, there was some problem with the clearance between the wipers and the bonnet, and they basically rubbed the edge of the bonnet off, and it was just like jagged aluminium. But because it's aluminium, it wasn't corroding. It was just totally fine.
Mm.
And this car was a 2014,
13.
14 car,
Yeah.
and
13.
and
'Cause
looked
that's when I
really
started
well.
watching.
Looked really good. But yeah, there you have it. So yeah, dealers look good. Well, look, who really cares what the legacy dealers do? Their business model is old, and eventually will probably crumble, like many other institutions that have gone by the wayside. They'll just quietly go away. And EVs will dominate, not because you have to buy them, but because people willingly will buy them. And I think a few people understandably are quite concerned. I forget, was it the IA? No, it wasn't the IAEA. Is it the International Energy
Agency.
IEA?
Yep.
The gentleman basically said this is twice as bad a oil crisis as there was in the 1970s. And that's as it stands today. And there's always room for improvement in the badness of it,
He also
severity of it.
he also said though that because of the number of EVs, the world can still, be it slowly, but try and work its way through it. So if you have a look at the fleet of EVs, I think they account for about 70% of the, or they offset about 70% of the 20% of oil that goes through the Strait of Hormuz. So
Yeah,
you can imagine that if there were no EVs, then it'd just be a catastrophe.
yes, yeah. I guess you could say that. Yeah, you could argue
Mm.
that. Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's
I
going to be
didn't.
very interesting
Sorry.
to see what happens.
I was just saying I didn't even know that diesel went to like $3 until my sister-in-law told me. That's why she said they'll get in the car. And
Yeah,
I
it's
was
great.
like, really?
And look, never let a crisis, as a political adage goes, never let a crisis go to waste. And if it requires a crisis to get you over the edge, just to take that leap into an EV,
Cool.
for anyone watching, I mean, I'm sure in the room we're all good, but anyone that may watch this on X or on YouTube, it's only because I've got my own charging station, like a DC charger, and I've just seen people's behaviour. I've seen people turn up because on ChargeFox it actually shows the state of charge of the session for anyone charging. I've seen people turn up at 70% and then charge to 100%. And it's like, if I had to charge in on public chargers, I'd be leaving at 70% and would have arrived at 20 or 30% or 10%. And it's just interesting. I see a lot of people sort of punishing themselves because they will sit and say spend half an hour to get from say 20 to 70% and then another half an hour getting from 70 to 100%. And it's like you're wasting that second half hour and it's just impinging on your ability to enjoy the EV. And the other thing too is, of course, please charge your EVs at home if you can, unless you absolutely can't, because when you charge it at home, it's the cheapest it'll ever be. And it's also much more convenient because it takes you 10 seconds to charge, 5 to plug in when you get home, and 5 seconds to unplug when you leave home. And it charges overnight while you're sleeping, which is super convenient. But anyway, I mean, the more people get EVs, the better. And eventually
I'm
they'll all
one
have
of
EVs.
I'm one
Yes,
of
Michelle.
them that I'm one of them that sits and charges to 100, except I won't have to do it for much longer. But to
Because
get
you're going to
from
get a charger.
Galwallinutta queue, I've got to charge to 100%.
Yes. Sorry.
But
Yeah. And I mean
paint's
that's the
fine. Yep.
and that's the exception, Michelle. So, and that's the thing. I mean, look, I regularly on a lap, I will regularly charge to 100% because I bloody have to.
Yeah.
But at other places, I will just do a splash and dash and go to the next supercharger or whatever. But yeah, totally understand, Michelle. That's a completely different thing. That is a necessity thing. You'd have to do it. But when you're around Perth and you live there, you're much better off. If look, some people unfortunately can't charge at home because they're either renting or there's no power or they're in a unit apartment complex and there's just no way of charging your car. And sadly, there's too many people that still put through that grief. Then yeah, definitely it's much quicker to do opportunistic charging from one, every few days, but try and keep the interval down to the low end of your battery so that you don't waste too much time. Because I've seen people punish themselves spending 20 minutes to get from 90 to 100% on some cars. And it's super slow and painful. And time is money. But yeah, absolutely, Michelle, in your case, and in many of our cases where we have to do long legs and there are long gaps, that's just what you have to do. It's just the way it is for now.
100%, Howard, but it looks like the Payne's Fine charger is almost with us, so I won't have to do that any longer. It's actually turned up on PlugShare.
It's turned up as coming soon.
It's coming soon, yes, but that's a step forward.
Yes. Yes. Yes, it is. I'm going to be
Yeah.
positive. Yes, it is. Realistically, it's going to be another month or two,
Oh, that's all right.
realistically.
Mate, I'm living on queue time. That's fine.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, so that look, it's coming. What I'll do definitely is on this program, as soon as we get wind of what really matters is when the sea containers containing the charges are being driven across the Nullarbor at greater expense than they otherwise would have been these days, then
Yeah.
that's the time to start getting excited, is when the actual plan has been made to deploy, to book the crane, to lift them off and all that sort of stuff. But realistically, it's going to be a month or two.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's better than having no plan at all.
Absolutely. I'm excited.
Well, I think a lot of us are. I've never driven the Great Northern Highway because
It
I just
it
don't want to
actually
punish
sorry,
myself.
there's a post on PlugShare that somebody's put on there that said the charging hardware is delivered to site but not yet energized.
At the Paynes Fine pin,
Yeah.
that's not how I understand it. In fact, I dare say if that was the case, then they ought to have taken a photo of it.
There is a photo, but I'm not sure
Ah,
whether it's
okay.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll bring it up 2 seconds and see if it's
Have a look.
legit.
You'll know better than me.
Paynes Find, that's that one. And the photo. Oh, right. Well, you should get excited, Michelle, because
So I thought,
that is the Illumina.
Oh, is it? Didn't hear anything.
Sorry, I'm just going to put it. No, nor did I.
She's sneaky.
Sneaky.
Just get it in and then tell
I've got to
us.
say that is such a bad design. Oh man, that's just gonna.
Oh, that's a hot box.
It is a hot box. I'm going to
Oh.
open that in a new tab
Mm.
and make it bigger. Oop, too big. There we go.
Mm.
Oh no, that's. Oh, dearie me. Anywho, let's be polite.
Yep.
Yep.
I think this guy in this post, he said that it's been delivered to site but not yet energized. So are they
Yes.
going to leave it in there or are they going to get it out?
Yes. No, the plan is to leave it in there.
Right.
And anyway, let's. I don't want to openly criticize them on an open forum without a right to reply and without doing the modicum of. Oh, actually, let's do it. Let's hope, because this will not work because the air blows out here and it sucks from the backside of this front bit. I mean, that's one side, and there are fans and radiator, and it draws air from the back going through. Now, unless this was a bit more forward, so that the hot air went straight out the front, and then coolish air went sort of around the sides. Look, it might be just okay, but anyway, we'll see. My only issue
Yeah.
too is, what if a kangaroo decided to get some shelter or something, and you're starting to use it, and this thing just starts leaping out because it's scared that this human, like, whatever. Good thing to see is it looks like they've basically blanked off this huge screen,
Looks
which is
good.
good because that's just vandal bait having a large, brightly lit screen. So yeah, wow, that's
Oh, that's good.
look, it's there at Paynes Find.
They're all there. I've just
Are they?
gone up the road. Queue's there.
Yeah. And do you know what? I live in Kew and I haven't even had a look.
The queue one's
Q
there.
has some other complications because Q requires a generator to be attached.
Yeah.
So there you go.
The next
Well,
one
I'm
up
buggered.
is there.
And look,
Did
there's
say
even a butterfly photo bombing the photo.
that's cool.
Yeah.
There's Carolundi's there.
I was just thinking, Harold, are these
That's
areas that you're pointing out, is there a person there all the time? I was just thinking that after hours or when there's not many people around, would they close the container for security and stop
No,
vandalism?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
And the one
Wow,
at
they're-
Payne's Fine that's there now, there's a 3-phase one that you can pretty much just use.
Yeah.
There.
Right.
Well, the Carolundi one was photographed was March 24th, yesterday.
Yep, and we haven't got Oski or Capricorn, but we've got Carolundi. Carolundi, that those LEDs actually indicate that it's actually on.
yeah.
It may or may not be powered, but wow, that's yeah, I've got to talk to John
Mason.
Edwards because
Oh yeah, John.
Do you know, I don't know if this is relevant, but I did see on LinkedIn that she was the CEO was at Oski. So given all that, I wonder if there is one there as well.
there's no photo of it, so not
Mm.
sure.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
great
hot off the
news.
press.
Mm,
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, awesome news.
Now
that's
we just
great.
need one. Now we just need one a bit faster than the one at Yelgoo to get across to Geraldton.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh
I
well,
know.
what why don't we just have superchargers all over Australia, Michelle? I mean,
Yeah,
come on.
well, exactly. Yeah.
Does anyone recognise the guy in the photograph at Q?
I
Uh,
haven't seen the photo.
so Q Roadhouse. Uh, oh, come on, you slow computer.
Hmm.
No.
No.
He's just a middle-aged gentleman in a hat with glasses and separate sunnies. No, don't know. Bit of diesel spillage there. Oh, I hope those bulkies haven't got diesel in them because they'll be valuable.
No,
There's
they're
1,000
not.
litres. Ah, okay, very good.
I don't think so.
Yeah, well, that's really awesome. I mean, that is fantastic news. That really is.
Yep.
So no, sorry, I'll take it all back, Michelle. You should actually get quite excited. So-
Yeah.
Oh, I am. Don't worry.
and Payne's Find is just connecting to the to a 32 amp 3-phase socket, so that's quite easy. So that
Yeah.
might be running very soon. So I'd be keeping an eye on ChargeFox.
Okay.
To make, says he who is just about to open his ChargeFox app.
Yeah, because Lisa hasn't posted anything about that they started putting them out. So
No, there's nothing on ChargeFox yet. So it hasn't
There's
quite
nothing on
gotten
Link-
that far.
LinkedIn either.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't use LinkedIn for
No, I
charging
only have
locations.
no, but you know,
Yeah.
Lisa and
Oh,
I,
yeah. Oh, you mean posting? Yeah.
we're LinkedIn buddies. So
Yeah, and did she give you the heads up, Paul, that this is all
no,
being
she didn't.
mostly
She
done?
told us before, but
Well,
she said
you're not
she did
so
say
close.
March. She said March, and it is March. So
Yes,
yeah.
that's pretty cool. I
But I thought-
see a road trip in the offing soon.
Oh, I don't know if I have time. You know.
Well, be a push.
Speaking of
Awesome.
time, we should mention, and I'm going to get Steve to do it because, notwithstanding the severe weather we may be having on Saturday,
Sunday.
on
Sunday.
Sunday, sorry?
Yep, it's fine.
Yeah, right. I was just saying, notwithstanding the severe weather we're going to have on Saturday,
Saturday. Yeah.
we have planned a casual meetup on Sunday, which hopefully will be clear, albeit maybe a bit wet. And Steve, where is this casual meetup?
It's at the Sporting Globe at the Belmont Forum, which is in Belmont. Details have been pushed out, which is great. There's also the Facebook event that's been pushed out there for folks. And we're looking forward to as many as can brave whatever weather we have. make it. And then hopefully James will show us the work that he's done prior to doing his lap.
Ah, yes, that James may or may not be able to.
He may or
Um,
may not be able to, but good
but if he
impression.
does, he'll be highlighting the modification he's made to the back of to the interior of his car, so as to be able to lay flat in a
Model
standard
Y.
range Model Y.
With the
With the
spare
tyre.
wheel, James.
Yep. So that'll be good. So we look forward
Yeah.
to seeing you if you can make it. Like I said, there is a cyclone, Narelle, that's a record-breaking cyclone. It's the only cyclone in recorded history that has had severe severity status in all three domains, being off the Queensland coast, east of the Queensland coast, the Northern Territory, Gulf of Carpentaria area, and also the Indian Ocean WA side. So it's the first cyclone in recorded history that's ever done that.
Just taking after you, Harold, doing a fast lap the wrong way.
Yes. And it's going to be a great test of the Horizon Power canopy design, particularly at Exmouth, which it looks a little bit like this. So they're like sunshades, and it's going to be interesting to see how well they fare or not. And if the ones at Exmouth aren't tested, then so will be the ones at the one at Denham, because that's also in the path of the cyclone or the cyclonic winds. So yeah, that'll be quite interesting to see. Fingers crossed it'll all be okay, because it couldn't be much worse than the rest of the Horizon Power portion of the WAV network. We had Mark and Cheryl. Mark's a great friend of the program, and they traversed the Nullarbor a few days ago to find that Norseman was dead, the DC was dead, and this is a proper Chempower site, high power site. That was dead. Balladonia fortunately worked. However, they came across the second most feared site that any EV road tripper can come across. The most feared being a site that they thought was running that is not running. The second worst thing you can experience as an EV driver on a road trip is to see another EV there already charging. And what makes it even worse is if they're going in the same direction as you, because it just means you're just going to keep colliding with them, metaphorically speaking. And that's what he did. But Balladonia worked, or they had to share 50 kilowatts and get 25 kilowatts each. At Kaiguna, I think it's putting out 23 kilowatts total. So if you share that, you get half each. That's 11 kilowatts, basically. That's the same as just charging at home on three-phase. Majura Pass was no point, because basically the tritium there is dead. And at Mundrabilla, it actually worked okay this time. It must have been a cooler day, and they were fortunate that none of the grumpy managers told them to disconnect or anything like that. And then they charged up at Border Village, which thankfully was working okay. And they even made it past Nullarbor Roadhouse and then got to the milk and honey, that is everything east of Ceduna. So, but still, it's just, in this day and age, it's just not good enough that us EV long road trippers are treated like second class or third class citizens. But it is what it is. Alrighty. Anyone got any questions or comments?
I have a question.
Yes, Mike.
So, in the Christmas update, some vehicles got feature, or whatever we call them, about leaving your phone on the charger.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't really paid attention to it until one of us left the phone in the car the other day. It didn't have alarm, and so I got the latest manual from our fearless Tesla friends, and the little bracket says it has an alarm if installed, if equipped is the word. So my 2022 hardware 3 Model 3, I just want to confirm that is not equipped, or there isn't something missing, because the feature called give me an alarm if I leave my phone in the car isn't there. But the flag for turning the wireless chargers on and off is.
So I wonder if it requires the pedestrian warning system module.
Good question. I thought
Uh,
it might be something to do with this ultra wideband business, but it doesn't require
No.
it if your phone is charging. I think I've understood that bit, because it knows it's there basically. And I'm not sure my old iPhone 13 mini has ultra wideband. I haven't looked that up.
Actually, I think it knows it's there. Okay, because one of the side effects, which has happened to me several times, is I've inadvertently just got out of my car and walked off, which is what you normally do, but I've left my phone in the car, and that obviously means not only is my car unlocked, but anyone can just sit in the driver's seat, press their foot on the brake, and drive off.
Yep.
Um,
That's what we did the other day.
right.
As
So
in not drive off, we left the phone in.
yeah.
See, under the settings, it should be under locks, and between. It's about like third thing from the bottom. Well, it's just not there in R3.
Have you got it in your car, Paul?
No, but I'm wondering if Leonie's Y would.
Yeah. Okay. So it means it has to be a car of a certain of no greater than a certain age to have this feature.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to confirm whether the knowledgeable amongst us here might just confirm that's the case.
Do you have a cabin?
That's just not.
Mine works, but I did actually add the PWS to the car, so mine's a June 2023 Model Y.
Yes, so mine is
Hardware
March
3.
2022.
Yep, but I did buy and fit the PWS, the pedestrian warning system, so that's not going to help you work out yes or no.
No, I suspect it's
No.
not. Again, it's just wondering, because I'm not the first owner, whether something was switched off or something by accident.
No. It's either the pedestrian warning system. I don't think it's the ultra high band Bluetooth module. I don't think it's that. I think it might be. It's plausible, because I think the tone. I mean, look, the internal speakers can make a fairly loud noise that you can hear outside, but I've only heard the beep once actually, and it's really quick. It's as soon as you close the door, it basically gives you this beep. And look, it's very plausible that beep came from the pedestrian warning system, which is actually just an enhanced horn module.
So what gives the lock notification? Because we get the lock notification sound.
Yes, that's an alarm chirp.
My wife likes that.
That's an alarm chirp, which is, I think.
Okay.
I think the alarm chirp is a different. No, sorry, I take that back. The alarm. Do you get a horn chirp, or do you get an alarm chirp? Yeah, there's a subtle difference.
Yeah.
The horn chirp is basically very brief horn toots, but it's still the horn. And an alarm chirp is the very high frequency, proper speaker generated alarm chirp, which would come from the pedestrian warning system, which is just a upgraded version of the horn. So for those of us who were intent on trying to, let's just say, silence the pedestrian warning system, you can't, because the noise is made by the horn speaker.
What I can try is that I know in some vehicles you can change that lock confirmation sound to anything you want, like a quack or something else.
That's pedestrian warning.
Yes. But also the close lock. So if I can't change it to anything else, that'll tell me where the sound's coming from.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
All right,
Yep.
thanks, guys.
It's-
I was just interested because it's a really useful feature because we were quite a way away from the car. And then I noticed on my app that it said your car's open, Wally. Well, it didn't say the Wally bit, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's not in the Model Y, but it might be a later version or something.
Yeah.
I've just checked Leonie's car.
Yeah,
I found
so, as
some
Harold said,
reference to
it's
that
certain
is a
date.
pedestrian warning. But it's only cars with the pedestrian warning that can do.
Oh, okay.
Same reason we can't have the boombox here. In Australia, the horn can only make horn sounds for horn reasons. It can't make any other. It can't be altered to make any other noises.
Nanny state.
You can't have a Ruger sound or anything like that.
No.
Right. Steve, you said you had your PWS installed. Can that be done on any vehicle?
Yeah.
Yes, I would say so. It was an accessory through Tesla. It's subcontracted to them.
How much, Steve?
I'm thinking 200.
Oh, yeah.
In that vicinity. It wasn't a great deal. And I did want the different sort of lock sounds because it's a bit generic. And so you can customize it with different lock sounds. Happy with that. But as the technician was installing, he said, you do realize that you get the Jetsons when you reverse and you can't turn that off?
Yep.
So when it's in reverse, it goes, and the harder the accelerator, the higher the pitch goes.
Yep.
Right.
Oh.
So yeah,
It also
cannot be turned off.
There's also a forward sound too, Steve, but it's more subtle. It's more like I can't do it because I've got noise cancelling on, but it's like a hissing sort of noise. It's like a low tone. It's not white noise. It's obviously pink noise, but it's like a pink noise, low
and I
tone.
don't know if it stops at 20 or 40 because you get to 40 so quickly. I can't tell.
That's right. It's whatever the rules are. It's 25 k's an hour or whatever. Where things like road noise actually takes over, and this thing that EVs are silent is a myth. The wheels still scrub just like any other wheel does. Tires, sorry, and that's the bulk of your noise once you go more than 20 or so k's an hour.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
all you guys with newer vehicles have that PWS inbuilt, yes?
Yes, unfortunately, my Juniper Y has got it, and I have to put up with this rubbish, which, let's face it, so many pedestrians these days have earbuds in, and they couldn't hear an AC/DC rock concert if it collided with their rear end. Anywho.
Yep.
Anyway, thanks, guys. Interesting.
$290.
Yeah.
Almost
200. What? Sorry,
90.
290. Wow,
Just
that's
look it up
inflation
on
for
their
you.
site.
Yeah, if you didn't have this other sort of irritation, it's a reasonable security benefit because we've done it a couple of times now. This time we were a long way away.
Yep. Well, if you're in park, you can use the microphone and talk to people outside. It becomes a loudspeaker, but you have to be in park. You can't do it driving along. I tried.
Get out of the way.
Dear me. All right. Any other questions or comments? No?
What
Oh,
about you?
right.
Okay, well, let's jump in quickly. Something you mentioned before about charging networks. There's been a couple of articles on the ABC News websites. What's your spin on those?
You mean the one that criticises the Horizon Power part of the WAV network?
There's that one. Had the Chris Johnson from
Yes.
AVA.
Yes.
But there was the following day, there was one talking about the multiple steps of getting crude oil into your car, and it highlighted drill it, store it, move it, store it, refine it, store it, transport it, store it, and into your car versus, hey, solar panel, charge your car. So that was more about EVs in general. And I think it ties in with the comments earlier about even with our small amount of EVs we've got, the analysis was for Australia, we've avoided 1 day's worth of fuel consumption by those EVs. So that's the fuel saving, is about 1 day's worth as we currently stand, highlighting what Paul was talking about earlier, I think.
Yeah, so I guess that kind of implies that the fleet size of EVs compared to the whole fleet is 1/365th, just at a guess, which is probably about right. Well, that's what, a third of a percent.
Yeah,
We
I
must
think,
have more than
I
that in
think
the
they're
fleet.
saying 1.9% was the Australian EV penetration right now.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. So, oh, sorry, and you said reserve. Did you say reserve? So yeah, maybe
Yeah.
that's right, because we've got a reserve of a month, and yeah, maybe a day in a month is 1 in 30, and that's right. Well, yeah, ish, roughly. Yeah, and I mean, it's not going to make any difference to the shortages or anything like that. Well, I don't know. Look, it's a good thing to say. It's a valid statement. Drill it, store it, refine it, store it, add additives to it, store those. If it's diesel, create urea and use AdBlue, turn it into AdBlue and store that, and burn
use
it. And,
cobalt in the refining process.
yeah, in fact, more cobalt is used in refining in producing liquid fuels than EV batteries.
Yeah, I know.
Vastly
It's
more.
interesting.
And it's not recycled either, because I think that catalyst is consumed in the refineries, and you can't recover it. Whereas in a battery, you can absolutely recover it from the battery pack.
Yep.
So, yeah, I
But
mean,
it's
look,
also interesting that there's far more interest, as we've talked about. We
Yeah.
talked about the stock and inventory, and now mainstream media. I think even, as you would know, Channel 10 had some good things to say recently, didn't they? Interviews with Pete and Ant.
That's right. That's when Pete was trying to spread some alarm by
Yeah.
not prefacing what he was going to say with a disclaimer.
Yeah, he should have done it through what he was saying. It's harder to edit it out.
That's right. Only joking, Pete. We know that you did preface it, but they snipped the bit they wanted, which was the juicy bit, which is what creatures of media do.
But it's actually turning out to be correct, even without that qualifier. ABC was reporting last night that there were about almost 500 petrol stations, mainly on the East Coast, that had experienced fuel shortages. So,
yeah, and the only thing that Australia has some leverage over is the fact that as a country we do export a lot of liquid natural gas, LNG, and that I think some of the countries off the top of my head were Singapore and China. And governments should always act in the national interest, and it would be in Australia's national interest for our government to remind the other governments that we really would appreciate. We're really happy to send you LNG because we know you need that to create electricity and other things. But in return, it would be wonderful if you could ensure that we are at the higher end of the priority list as far as receiving refined petroleum products on a quid quo pro basis, which would be very useful to remind some countries that may be wavering, because otherwise we might be compelled to have to send our natural gas to a different country that is prepared to swap it for the equivalent of refined fuels. Oh, something else to do with country relations. Obviously, Ursula von der Leyen did come to Australia and did sign an EU free trade agreement, to which I don't think the luxury car tax has been abolished, but the rate, and I think it's for European vehicles, EVs actually, I'm pretty sure it was just EVs, the threshold point at which it kicks in has been raised to $120,000. So you can buy some of your very inefficient luxury Mercedes, Porsche, BMWs and some other brands as EVs, and luxury car tax doesn't kick in until that vehicle's base price exceeds $120,000. So that's a bit of positivity in the EV space, at least for European produced EVs.
So
Performance Model Y.
No, it didn't have LCT anyway, Paul.
Really?
No. Yes, no.
No.
Yes, no.
Yes, no. It's like
Yes, it did not.
100,000 or something.
Tesla's going to have to start producing those Cybertrucks in Berlin now.
Yes. Ja, that's good.
Sehr gut, ja.
Das stainless steel auto. Look, I'd buy a Cybertruck from any country that makes them, Pete. I don't care where they're built and how much they cost to a degree. Although having said that, it's going to be quite crushing to drive a Cybertruck, which Bjorn Nyland has shown on highway driving achieves 440 kilometers of range, traveling at 90 kilometers per hour, when the new Model Y L will probably, at 90 k's an hour, would probably achieve probably 650 kilometers.
Close to its WLTP.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, I'd still buy the Cybertruck. Of course I would. Still do a lap in it. It's all good. Speaking of other things, Jay Leno was obviously featured. It was the second video. Well, it's actually the first. It was stated that he was the first non-Tesla employee to drive the new version of the Tesla Semi.
The production-ready version.
Yes. So what he actually drove was let's call it the standard range Semi, which is the 300-mile range Semi, which incidentally, the difference between the 300-mile and the 500-mile
325,
semis,
Harold.
Yep. Class-ish. Was the large one has 3 battery packs of equal size. The standard range has 2. So they remove one of those battery packs. So it basically has 2/3 the range, effectively. But the same power. So there's no real penalty as far as payload is concerned. It's just range. And as was explained, I forget the gentleman who is the head of the Semi program, but he basically explained, in trucking, it's all about utilization. If your truck is parked standing still, it's not making money and it's costing you in all of its capital outlay. It's all about, really, the ideal truck is one that is running 24/7, basically. And
the gentleman's name is Dan Priestley.
Dan Priestley, that's it, Dan.
That's it. Good job.
And I must admit, if you want to watch the video, it's okay. I'd rate it as a 5 because unfortunately Jay Leno was very fond of educating Dan in Jay's admiration of steam-powered car that he has, a jet-powered car that he has that was rebuilt because the engine blew up and melted and blah, blah, and many other Corvettes and other things he was regaling Dan with. And Dan sat in the jump seat. Yeah, and Dan was sitting in the jump seat with a fairly nondescript expression on his face, just listening to Jay waxing lyrical about stuff that I'm sure Dan could not care less about. But anyway, it's great to see that, the Semi's getting a little bit of publicity and Tesla's obviously going into mass production. Dan did reiterate that Tesla is planning on selling the Semi in Germany or in Europe, but there was no mention about Australia, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But
very, very slippery. It's got a drag coefficient of 0.4, I think they said.
That's correct, yeah.
Which is better than a Bugatti Veyron.
Yeah.
Yes,
but
they've
managed to improve it even further. But yeah, I
But
know
then
what
let's
you're about
face
to
it,
say,
a
Harold. Yeah.
Bugatti Veyron is a brick, and in fact, it has to suck in as much air as it possibly can through the radiators to be able to produce the 1,000 kilowatts anyway, so that you can drain your petrol tank in 20
20
minutes or
minutes.
something.
I think
Yeah,
it, yeah.
at top speed. Mike, you got your hand up.
Couple of points. So, firstly, going back to Steve and direct connections, what we need is a Mr. Fusion like Back to the Future, because then you can generate the electricity straight on your car.
Actually, the semi. Sorry, just to
Yeah, go
that
on.
point. There's a couple of great X posts that Tesla Charging has posted. There's quite a few videos of various supercharger setups and other things, and one of them was the version 4 supercharger cabinet, which was putting out 1.208 megawatts
Gigawatts.
megawatts
Yeah.
into the semi, and it was literally 1.208.
Yes.
So it was almost 1.21. I wouldn't call it gigajoules, but giga millijoules.
Yes.
So not quite the 1.21 gigawatts, as they would say incorrectly in the movie. But yeah, go on, Mike. And the other thing?
So the other thing was a post from Elon. Sorry I missed the first half hour, so if you've already talked about this, just shut me up. So he made a post about something cooler than a minivan is coming.
No.
So I'm reading the post here. He said something way cooler than a minivan is coming, replying to somebody 7 hours ago.
Referenced today.
What was that, Darren?
That was just referenced today, or like on the posts of Elon.
Yes.
Yeah, but what's it referencing to?
Well, I was replying to someone wanting basically the equivalent of a minivan.
But that's a Robovan. That's Elon Musk's so-called Robovan, probably.
Possibly.
Because there is nothing else that Tesla has indicators on the drawing boards at this stage, apart from the Robovan.
You'll probably get the Model YL.
Cyber
Yeah,
SUV.
because there was confusion as to whether the Model YL was the one that Joe Tagmeyer videoed.
Yeah,
it is. No, Grok confirmed it. It looks like it. In fact, you've got to be very careful, because when you look at the image, I haven't got time to bring it up this minute, but when you look at it, it's wrapped in blue plastic. But he's taken 3 photos, and one of the photos is more instructive. And what you've got to do is the actual body isn't level. So it actually looked like part of the tailgate it looked like it was too high, but it's actually because you just got to adjust your angle, and also realize that because the glass is missing, this is just the bare metal work with the doors fitted and the shell of the tailgate fitted. So it can look a bit deceptive, but when you line it up with the way the rear triangular shaped glass at the back of the car, above the wheel arch, when you line that up with where the lip of the boot is, and you look at a reference photo of a Model YL, it lines up absolutely perfectly. It's just that it's doing it at a slight down angle, or up angle, should I say. So, it is just and it's from China. It's just an exemplar body in white. And look, I guess in one sense we couldn't care less, but yeah, it looks possibly increasingly likely that Tesla will stop selling the 7-seat short Model Y setup and just do a stretched Model YL in the States. And in Europe, for that matter, because in Europe it's actually been approved, but they're actually still persisting with selling a crammed 7-seat version of the Model Y in its standard length, not its lengthened version.
So yeah, I think basically someone posted that they would like to see an SUV, or a large SUV, and then Elon posts back basically something more exciting than that.
Yeah, and that might be the Robovan.
Yeah, on the Model Y, I rang Tesla yesterday, I think it was, and they said the Model YL won't be here to view until the second week of April, it must be, just after Easter. And I mentioned about for test drives, and he said it'll probably be May for that because of, I suppose, once they actually start getting the deliveries of them, first lot come in.
Yeah,
Or
so
even go test driving it.
so I presume what that means is basically they only bought enough cars on the East Coast as I mean they had a few promotion cars so that, you know, Ryan's Model Y Ryan Cowan could drive one, and the Ludicrous people could, and a few others as press cars. But clearly you need quite a few demo cars to do test drives.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's plausible that it'll be May, which obviously, unfortunately for many of us, will be after the May budget when the Treasurer cans the FBT concession. Probably not financial advice. So maybe it's late May for test drives, depending on when the ship comes in, and we don't even know because none of us have got VINs yet. As soon as any of us, well, actually, once one of us has got a VIN, we'll all have a VIN. Those of us that ordered it. And then we'll be able to let everyone know exactly when the ship's going to arrive, roughly, at least, once it leaves Singapore. Alrighty. Any other questions or comments?
So if it's related, so there was a post about documentation going in for the SpaceX IPO today. And the reason that sort of related, for those of you who don't follow rockets, NASA made some fairly big announcements today regarding the moon, which will involve significant tonnages of stuff going to the moon, which obviously benefits SpaceX and Blue Origin. It's probably they're the only really two heavy lifters at the moment. Vulcan's still having its teething troubles, but and the timeframes in the scheme of things and rockets in general are probably aspirational. But you know, the new leader there, he's putting his foot to the floor, so they're talking sort of 10 years inside. So providing SpaceX can get Starship working, then you know there could be quite a bit of money to be made in investing in SpaceX shares.
And Harold's looking up the disclaimer, is he? Going to play that one?
Not financial advice. I'll say it for Harold.
No, not financial advice. No.
No.
I'm just saying
Actually,
it looks promising. I mean, it's highly risky, of course, Paul, because rockets are rockets.
Yeah. Yeah. The amount of money. Yeah, I've got money set aside for them.
Yeah.
They're just going to make money hand over fist because they're just dominating. So
yeah.
I mean, a mate of
I'm
mine's
just interested in this first model, this first version 3, block 3 of the
yeah.
Starship.
That's next month. Should launch. So
yeah. I mean, they're
We'll
actually
see.
quite careful this time, which is good.
Yeah.
And so probably may even be into May. Could be another, where are we, 1 week. I wouldn't put it inside 3 weeks, probably. They've still got a fair bit of testing and yes, construction of the first ships and rockets to go. But they've done some initial testing for those who haven't been watching. So yeah, the moon base, call it what you want, and that's going to require, you know, what's his name, Jared Isaacman sort of talked about tonnages involved, and there's a fair bit.
Yeah.
You know, the habitats, industrial stuff, and manufacturing and exploration. So
Was there a nuclear aspect as well? Is it? I think I heard that
on the Mars probe. So it's a fusion nuclear reactor unmanned probe to Mars. Fusion, is that right? No, fission. Which
Would
is
have been
fusion.
It's
Fusion.
nuclear.
Fusion.
Yeah.
fission.
Fission.
It can't be fusion because
If we have
nuclear
we'll be
fusion
going,
is 20 years away, like it was.
Yeah.
Well, no. So
60
there's a
years.
misconception. Sorry, there's a misconception there. People think nuclear fusion for power but this is not nuclear fusion for power. This is nuclear fusion for transport. So it doesn't have to break even.
No, that's right. So you're saying that? No, okay. I'll have to look that up.
I'm just going to check now. Just let me check. I'll turn my
I
mic.
was sure it was a fission reactor, but okay.
The IPO is rumored to be raising between 50 billion and 75 billion dollars. That would be by far the biggest IPO ever. It would be more than all the IPOs combined last year.
Yeah, and
I
I dare
know.
say if they said it was 150 billion, it would get raised like that anyway.
Yeah, I know, mate. He's stopped buying Tesla. He's got a bit of Tesla, but he's compiling a whole bunch of cash, waiting for the IPO.
Yeah, so it is fission, Harold. It is fission.
Yeah. If it was fusion, you would have heard about it.
Yeah.
Well,
So fission is
to
just
find out
using
there.
fission's just using the nuclear reactor as a heat source, and then they're going to chuck out xenon or something to, or some I wouldn't say propellant, but what do you want to call it? Working fluid, for lack of a better term, to chuck
out the back.
Yeah, gas or a liquid that turns into a gas or whatever out the back to cool the reactor.
Yeah. Now there's plenty of working. No, that's the wrong word. Yeah, there's a couple of workings of fusion.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Engines, not power stations.
Yeah.
Well, you can actually demonstrate fusion in a shed with a good vacuum pump, and you can do that with hydrogen, and you can prove that there is a little bit of fusion taking place every now and then. But
it's just a heat source in this case, as with the fission version.
Yeah,
exactly.
The SpaceX valuation is about $1.5 trillion, which is incidentally about what Tesla's valued at.
Yep.
Except that Tesla is very much, well, it's in its undervalued phase.
Yeah.
Pre-price discovery phase. Once Robotaxi launches properly and gets deployed at scale, which at the moment there's still no sign, in spite of some Uber bulls continuing to claim that, wow, we went from 3 unsupervised robotaxis, not cybercabs, but robotaxis. We went from 3 down to 1, and now the robotaxi tracker is claiming 8. But I mean, that is not a leap. If you go to 80 or 800, that's a leap. And then we can all start getting excited. But clearly it's not quite ready yet. And Tesla doesn't need to rush because they haven't started production of the Cybercab in Austin yet. And that's the start of production as defined by production people, which is when you run the line at a reasonable speed for a sustained period of time. And that's still not happening yet.
Next month.
It's wait till April. And look, if it's May or June, it won't matter because an S-curve, it matters not where it starts, because once you hit the exponential phase, nothing matters.
No. But yeah, I haven't heard anything negative, so I think this is it'll work. And you sort of think it's like every one that they produce, that's it, bang, off you go to work. Like the first ones, they could just all send to Austin, so it could, immediately off, it's born, go work now. So they could do 10, 20 a day.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yep, indeed. But it's exciting times, and like I said, the Terafab is, as I said in the presentation, Tesla intends to make 50 times as many AI compute chips per annum than the entire world does. If you can, and that is quite outlandish. So too was it outlandish that back in 2012 or so, or 2013, Elon Musk and JB Straubel at a restaurant on the back of an envelope, literally, napkin actually, sorry, worked out that in order to produce X hundreds of thousands of Teslas a year, or maybe it was a million, was their aim, I can't exactly remember, they would have to produce as many 18650 lithium ion cells, or get produced as many in a factory as the entire rest of the world combined. Obviously, with Terafab producing 50 times as many as the rest of the world combined is a little bit more ambitious. But like they say, difficult things take time and the impossible a little bit longer. So
apparently there's the entire world produces between sort of 10 and 20 gigawatts of compute. That's the annual
AI.
capacity. Yeah.
Yeah.
AI compute, yeah. And in terms of what's installed currently, it's about 30 gigawatts. And the Terafab would be 1,000 gigawatts.
That's
or 1
correct.
terawatt. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, the amount of capital is eye-watering. So a lot of analysts aren't going to know what to do with it. I think a lot of institutional shareholders would prefer it just wasn't mentioned yet, because they'd be more comfortable in just sitting back and resting on the laurels of the Robotaxi and Optimus, which are going to make outrageous amounts of money. But then, of course, as Elon Musk said, you need a lot of compute, a lot of chips, just for those, just for the Optimi and the cars. So
How much money would we make with 1 billion Optima?
more than you could have to worry your little self about there, Paul. You'll be all right.
Paul, it doesn't matter, because if there's 1 billion Optimi, the money won't be a thing anymore.
Yeah. And actually, a lot of people won't be earning money, because if you saw, was it Macquarie Bank had a thing saying in the banking industry, they're talking about the bull case for, in other words, less unemployment was, let's call it rough figures. Let's call it maybe 10% job losses. The median base case is about 20%, and the bear case was 30% job losses soon in the banking industry. So, and that's just one of the eminently replaceable things of AI. We are going to hopefully have in 6 months, that's another catalyst this year. So it's plausible that by the end of the year, Tesla / SpaceX, I call it Space XXX AI, because it's SpaceX, X, and XAI. They will be releasing the Virtual Optimus powered by hardware for cars. So that's something that Elon Musk indicated Musk time would be in 6 months, but that would be launched as a service. And the good thing about us in Australia is, if Tesla were to offer these services to many Australian companies, depending on what sector they're in, there is a requirement for that compute to be undertaken in Australia, such as if it's got anything to do with medical, it's got to be done in Australia. The computers have to reside in Australia, the data centers and all that sort of stuff. So that would mean that, you know, our cars could be used for Australian tasks and international tasks where they don't care. So that's another catalyst that could be exciting for us to earn a little bit of money. And of course, you know, they're going to put a whole lot of AI4 computers in white boxes at Tesla superchargers, so they can unlock the 7 gigawatts of energy that Tesla's worldwide supercharger network already has pre-approval to use, which means, in one sense, for when those superchargers are not being used, it's free energy allocation that they don't have to apply for or deal with. So that, again, is pretty exciting.
It's that same concept as Amazon Web Services.
Exactly. You might as well use the stuff you've got for when you need it rarely or occasionally or whatever, and use it on the off-peak times. And speaking of superchargers, the Osmond Park supercharger site is still proceeding. There are conduits out to the ground, and hopefully that'll be done by. It'd be nice if it was done by Easter, and I think Tesla sometimes does have a bit of a push to get things out before certain holidays. So who knows? Maybe it might happen. I think Pete, 1 or 2 weeks ago, you said that it might actually be a fair bit longer than that, according to a contractor. But who knows? It'll be. They're working on it today or yesterday. I saw. So
It'll be sometime in April.
yes, exactly. Yeah, next month, which will be great to see.
Couple of weeks.
Couple of weeks. Couple of weeks. Alrighty.
Hey, Harold, you need to bring up that 2 weeks video
Oh, yeah.
that Jared used to love.
Yeah, my problem
us
is
playing.
my Stream Deck doesn't work very well with OBS anymore because OBS keeps updating itself, and then it's I could try and press the button, see what happens. I don't know if any noise will come out. Nah, the button's dead. Yeah, so I can't do the 2 weeks from what was it called? Not The Parent Trap. It was called something else. I remember
Money
that
Pit.
movie. Money Pit.
The
That's
Money
it.
Pit.
The Money Pit.
Classic Tom Hanks.
Yes, indeed. Alrighty. Any other questions or comments? Or we could have an early night. That could be useful. Yeah, I think we might be done. Okay. All right. So obviously at the end of the program, don't forget it's all but certain we've got the casual meetup at Steve the
Sporting Globe at Belmont Forum.
Yes, perfect. And starts at 11:30, and it's casual. You don't need to reply to us or anything. Just turn up, and
Always welcome.
yeah, everyone's welcome. And look, and you can bring friends, whatever. Everyone's welcome. It's just, hey, this is find out about EVs and Teslas and whatever. So you don't have to own one to come. Just if you hear about it, know about it, have a friend invite you, just come, and we're all fairly normal people. Mostly. Pete, how would you round out an awesome show like this, as if I didn't already know?
As always, stay safe, stay sustainable, and stay ahead of the curve.
And the best way to do that is buy a Tesla, join Tokwa, and ask us anything about accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy and abundance. Have a wonderful week, everyone. Hope the wind doesn't blow too strongly wherever you are. And really do look forward to seeing you on next week's episode of Tokwa's Ask Us Anything. Good night, everyone.
Not at all.
No.